What's going on, you guys? It's Cody. Welcome back to another video. We're going to jump right into things right now. We're going to talk about Airbnb IPO. What I want to talk about here is the incredible amount of hype behind this IPO and how it's affecting the share price. They've actually announced that they're going to be increasing the price. They had a previous range of $44 to $50 per share, and they've increased that now from $56 to $60 per share. This means that there's a lot of hype around the stock, that a lot of institutional investors are receiving the stock very well, and that there's a lot of demand for this particular company. Some other things that you're going to want to know about Airbnb is that their ticker symbol is going to be traded under ABNB, and they're expecting their IPO to be released on December 10th, which is when you're supposed to be able to actually buy and sell shares on the open market. Now, how does this actually relay into the potential valuation of the company? This means that the company is potentially worth up to $42 billion on a fully diluted basis. This is getting into territory that I think is a little bit crazy. I think that $42 billion for this company for an IPO is a little bit on the high side. I think that it's a great company. I think there's a lot of opportunity here, and it's still a company that I really want to invest in for the long term because I think that they're moving in the right direction. I think they've got a huge leg up on the industry, but I think that this is a pretty hefty price given the fact that we're still in a lot of restrictions. California just instituted a full lockdown for their residents in their state. They're saying, hey, this is a stay-at-home order. Unless you have a specific reason to be going out of your house, please stay at home. I mean, basically the pandemic is just raging right now, and I wouldn't be surprised to see additional lockdowns come. And who knows? I mean, with the vaccine uncertain right now, who knows when this is actually going to end, right? It could be the full winter before we actually see things start to pick back up. Now, that doesn't mean that Airbnb is not doing business. They still have bookings. They're still bringing in revenue. They're still producing a lot of business. But I just think with the uncertainty of where this is going and how long it's going to take to actually get out of this fiasco that we're in, I'm a little bit uncertain about where Airbnb is priced right now, given that they've now increased the value of those shares. You know, they're going to be asking between $56 and $60 a share with a valuation of up to $42 billion. I think this number is just a little bit inflated. So I'm kind of bummed about that because I really wanted to get in at a lower price because I do think that this company could be worth 50, 60, 70 billion sometime in the future. And I think that you could actually make some good money on those shares, you know, if you were able to hold on to them for 3, 4, 5 years. I think this is a play where, you know, you could buy these shares, put them away and just don't touch them and just see where they're at in 5 or 10 years. You know, this is a company that I would want to hold on to for the long term. I don't think this is going to be a company that you just hurry and get into, you know, and it runs up 50, 100%. I don't know. I could be totally wrong. I'm just giving you kind of my consensus on the company and the share price as far as what's going to happen. I don't want to confuse anybody. I do want to say, look, I believe in this company. I do think there's a lot of opportunity, but I'm just a little bit worried about this initial public offering, where the price is going to be and how the valuation is coming in right now, all things considered. So I don't know, guys. I'm still debating where I'm going to jump in. I'll probably wait until the dust settles. I think there's going to be a big buying frenzy as soon as the market opens, and I think the price will probably run up. But honestly, I do see the price kind of coming back down and crashing. You know, I don't know. I don't know all the intricacies and the details of how these institutional investors work, but considering they're buying the mass portion of the volume, I mean, they've got a ton of control over the market. A lot of them are going to hold on to it for the long term, and honestly, probably a lot of them are going to buy into the stock knowing they can get it for $56, maybe $60 a share, and they might sell out at $70, right? They might take their quick, you know, 10, 15, 20% profit and just cash out on their IPO. So I don't know. That's a whole nother story. You know, it always seems like these guys with the money, with the connections, always get ahead of us, the little guy who just want to get into this company, buy at least a couple of shares. You know, maybe it's 10, 15, 20, 100, 200 shares of this great company and hold on to it for the long term. But unfortunately, we're just not in a position. So I always look at these things and I say, okay, well, I can either sit here and complain about that, or I can do the best that I can and play the game the best to my ability, to the best of my ability, and just really see what I can do with the hand that's dealt to me. So that's what we're going to do here, guys. We're going to actually play this to the best of our ability. I want to actually compare this to another company because this is the thing that I really want to get at and give some basis and some kind of analysis behind why I think that Airbnb could potentially be a little bit overvalued at this IPO price. Now, this is just a quick rundown. This isn't any solid concrete numbers. I'm I'm just comparing it to another company in the same space that has is basically a competitor to Airbnb themselves. That company that I want to talk about is Expedia. Expedia actually owns Vrbo, which is a direct competitor to the Airbnb platform. I used to be an Airbnb host before the pandemic hit, and I actually had my property listed on both Airbnb and Vrbo. What I want to talk about with Expedia is the fact that they own Vrbo and are a direct competitor. Now, these numbers we're going to talk about here, obviously they're not all inclusive. I know there's some disclaimers here, so don't hold me to all these numbers, but I just want to talk about the rough numbers here to kind of give you a comparison to how Airbnb is looking, and the fact that I do think this is going to be a long-term play. Expedia obviously has a lot of other subsidiaries of the company that bring in additional revenue and stuff. So their revenue is not just based off of Vrbo. They've obviously got the travel component, they've got flights, they've got hotels, they've got everything all kind of built into this Expedia platform and the Expedia management group or whatever. So 2019 numbers. Expedia is currently sitting at a $17 billion market cap. Last year in 2019, they brought in $12 billion of revenue, and off of that, they brought in $565 million of net income. Now let's talk about Airbnb and their IPO numbers. They're expecting, potentially up to a full $42 billion valuation. That's 2.5 times the market cap of Expedia. However, in last year, 2019, they brought in $4.8 billion of revenue, less than half of what Expedia did, and they had a $674 million loss on that revenue. So Airbnb is still losing money. Expedia is profitable. Now, obviously, Expedia has been around for a long time. I don't know exactly when they were started, but they've been around for a long time. They've reached massive revenue numbers, and they've reached massive amounts of net income. $565 million in net income versus a $674 million loss over at Airbnb. So I'm looking at this and I'm saying, okay, well, logically, why is Airbnb worth 2.5 times what Expedia is, even though they're bringing in less than half of the revenue and they're still losing money? They're, when you look at it this way, they're basically $1 billion apart on the net income numbers. So I know that that's not everything. I know there's some disclaimers. Like I said, there's some other variables that we're not touching on here. And so I'm basically just trying to say, looking at this logically, how do I justify that Airbnb is worth $42 billion when Expedia over here is well established and they're actually producing a profit and they're a dividend paying company? Looking at this, I'm just like, man, maybe Expedia is actually the better investment here. Yeah, maybe it's not going to run up. Maybe it doesn't have the hype. Maybe it doesn't have the technology, but they definitely know what they're doing. I use Expedia all the time when I need to book flights. A lot of times I use Expedia, at least a price check, at least to see what's out there. It's a good platform. I use it, whether I book through it or not, that's a different story. But I think it's a good platform, and I think it can compete with Airbnb directly. So just something to keep in mind there. I want to know your guys' thoughts. Drop a comment down below. Let me know what your thoughts are. Is this logical and sound reasoning? Am I missing something here? What am I, where am I going wrong? And now, like I've said 100 times, guys, I do think that Airbnb has a lot of opportunity, but I do think it's going to be at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years out before we see that opportunity fully come to fruition. I think this is going to be a long-term play. It definitely is. I think there's opportunity to make money on this deal, but just looking at these two options, I think there's going to be a little bit of separation there, and I'm curious to see how this plays out. So for the record, just to clear things up, I'm very likely not going to actually buy in right as the shares become available. The shares are supposed to become available on December 10th, which is Thursday. I'm probably not going to buy in. If they drop really low, I might buy in. If they drop back down to that 45, 40, anything under 35, I'll probably buy in. I probably will. But if the share price runs up, I'm not going to play this. I'm not going to jump into that and just jump on the hype train. I'm not going to do that game. Who knows? Maybe even if the stock, trades at that high enough level for a while and the options start trading on Airbnb, I might even buy some puts expecting the share price to actually come back down and trade at a much lower amount. So I don't know, guys. Let me know what your thoughts are. I'd love to hear your thoughts on Airbnb, the potential dangers or benefits that you see of investing in this company, and where you see this share price actually going on the day of the IPO and then for the weeks and months after that. So with that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching. I'm really excited to see where this turns out, whether it's good or bad. I'm really excited to watch this and see an IPO take place in real time in the middle of this crazy pandemic and crazy 2020 year that we've been living in. Give me a thumbs up here on the video if you enjoyed this content. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. If you made it this far, you're probably interested in learning more about stocks, money, and real estate, and I'd love to have you along on the journey. So don't forget to subscribe. Also, if you haven't already done so, make sure to get your free stocks using the Webull link in the description below. You can get up to 3 free stocks using using this link, and they're valued, I think the minimum value is up to $21 on these particular stocks. So it's automatically a 21% return after you deposit $100 into your newly opened Webull account. Also, if you made it this far into the video, I want to give you a heads up that I'm going to be putting some information out on Patreon, and I'd love for you to join me over there as well. There's a link in the description below. My goal with this is to make it super accessible. So I'm going to start it out for the first 50 to 100 people. I don't know. I'm still getting all this set up, so I don't know exactly yet what I'm going to do, but probably the first 50 to 100 people, I'm going to make it as cheap as possible. I don't know if they'll let me do a $0 commitment to join this or whatever, but at least $1 I know is, you can do. So I'm going to do at least $1. I'm going to make it super accessible for people to just get in. I'm going to release some exclusive content over there. I'd love for you to join me over there as well. I don't have anything in there yet, but it will be coming, and just want to give you a heads up. If you watched it this far, I'd really appreciate the support over there if you're interested in getting some exclusive content from me as well. So with all that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.